Discuss the similarities and differences in the actor's process when working on a heightened rather than a realistic text. The major difference between heightened and realistic texts is that the actor is to play an extreme or heightened version of realism. The similarities of an actor's process when working on a heightened text or a realistic text are that both require a vocal and physical transformation. A way that helped me transform into my restoration scene character of Belinda was by doing real-life observations, observing characters in restoration comedies, paying particular attention to the character's vocal heightened speech. Their heightened usage of upper-received pronunciation accent was really part of the comedian era. Key aspects that I noticed in their voices were precision, articulation, agility, and pitch variety, which brought out the witty language and emphasized the comedy of manners of the higher class society. I observed their use of costume, wearing huge dresses, wigs, corsets, and fans from back then, and this affected the way they would walk around the space. For the setting, we decided as a group to set it to an 80s setting, for us ladies to be able to walk around, take in the space with confidence. I could clearly see the finesse of the time period when it came to movement, gestures, and facial expressions. The upper-class woman was so vain, extravagant, and cynical, which links to how wicked their roles were, and as Jeremy Collier said, restoration drama rapidly came to seem, in retrospect, unspeakably licentious. As everyone knew, it was in the last third of the 17th century that the theatre had touched the nadir of profaneness and immorality. All these comedy plays are bawdy, consisting of double entendres, sexual innuendos, and dirty dialogue focusing on sex. Another useful method for transforming into my character of Belinda was experimenting with the animal study. I did some research on the origins of the name of Belinda, and it derives from the Italian word bella, which means beautiful, and from the German name Bettlind, which means bright serpent. My chosen animal to physicalize was a snake, because the character of Belinda is self-serving, malleable, and self-interested. The serpent uses lies to gain power over people. And Belinda betrays Mrs. Lovett by lying and being the young mistress of Dorimant. When I was experimenting the way Belinda's character would walk, I thought to myself a snake would slither to one place to another with confidence, serenity, and class, pushing themselves of any rock, tree, or bump. I discovered that my leading points led from my upper body, sternum, hips, curves, and shoulders when I walked around the space. In this process, I realized how altered and different it felt to my habitual casual walk. The walk would be slithery, shifting weight from side to side extravagantly, which made it sensual and animalistic. I observed a variety of snakes and watched how their long limbless body meandered around. And then I began to imitate its movements, being as specific as I could and letting the natural impulses flow. Then I continued the animal study by looking into the animal's eyes from a picture and trying to transfer the animal's thoughts to mine. Keeping the animal's physical and psychological aspects was my aim to adapt for Belinda's character. For further transformation, I used the Laban efforts for my character. I recall during a class session where I explored with the efforts of punching, floating, gliding, ringing, slashing, pressing, dabbing, and flicking. For each effort, I engaged fully my body. I selected one effort for each line of the scene. Introducing this process enabled me to move differently, embodying internal impulses and developing an expressive body language with clean choices. As Sanford Meisner said, acting is behaving truthfully under imaginary circumstances. Similar techniques that both realism and heightened characters have in common is that the actor still has to list the facts and questions of the entire play, apply actions and objectives that are coherent in each line of the scene, listening, reacting, and responding to your scene partners at all times. Like Meisner said, listen to your gut, not your head. It's vital to have openness, eye contact, and communication with each other. Another strategy, text analysis. I used this technique to help me get into the script, but also improvise, and every time I couldn't keep up, I would begin from the start. Finally, understanding the text's historical, social, and cultural contexts. Realistic texts remain truthful and are based on people's social realities of everyday activities with the aim of conveying a convincing representation of life. A well-known technique used for realism is method acting. Its series of approaches aims to develop lifelike performances by making the actor replicate the emotional experience of the character. As Stanislavski said, all action in the theatre must have inner justification, be logical, coherent, and real. For realistic texts, the actor can apply techniques like hot seating, emotion memory, immediate circumstances, specificity, and characteristics. In restoration, I'd say it's heightened because vocally all the actors have to master a strong, resonant voice to keep the audience's attention and fill the space, but also gain that wit of prose that grew popular back then. As Simon Callow said, you have to be ahead of each thought, in perfect command of the sequence of ideas. You can never let the mind falter, never lose the energy. This is one of the challenges of restoration, to deliver elegantly and playfully. The differences between now and then are the era, the social and cultural changes from modern days to restoration days. Another difference would be the use of direct address, from heightened to realistic. In restoration period, the fourth wall was frequently broken by whispers of asides, nuisance and narrative, with the aim of provoking gags. Nowadays, in most modern performances, they usually shy away from addressing the audience, which keeps that realistic fourth wall unbroken. In conclusion, these are the processes of the similarities and differences that I have gathered from heightened work to realistic, but also from modern to restoration times. Thank you.